So, with that being said, this year is the year of Street Fighter. As you guys all know, they released their last bit of DLC for Street Fighter 5 last year. Again, that's really not a big deal. Nobody cares that they stopped releasing DLC or openly admitted, hey, we're gonna stop doing DLC. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, that means that they're probably ramping up and getting ready for the next iteration of the Street Fighter series, which is Street Fighter 6, and everybody's going nuts over. I'm not going to go in deep detail on, the ins and outs and how Street Fighter 5 came to be and all that other great stuff. That's for a different stream. We'll talk about that on a different stream. But this one, I wanted to talk about where I stand with that. And where I stand with that is I'm gonna play. This is pretty much the last year for Street Fighter to really learn Street Fighter, and then I want to move forward onto Street Fighter 6 when that releases.
Waves and waves.
I've been putting Street Fighter aside for a while now. Okay. But I am a huge Street Fighter fan. With these past iterations of consoles or generation of consoles, I was more of a Tekken and Mortal Kombat guy, more specifically Tekken 7 and Mortal Kombat 11. And I was like, no, not this freaking time. I'm going to stay on board with Street Fighter this go round because I just want to get good at it. It's extremely popular. Surprisingly, Tekken was the more popular game this go around, but Street Fighter just holds a very special place in my heart. So I wanted to do a deep dive. With that being said, what truly motivated me besides that's part of my motivation there. Man, I got freaking mopped by freaking Jony Fraze, man. Not saying that he wasn't good in the first place, because he's a phenomenal player. However, Oh, she has that God. Okay. I got swept 5-0, man. We were first to 5, and he just freaking mutilated me. So I need a rebuild. So that's what we're gonna do today. Not today, but we're gonna do that for the rest of the year. So I'm gonna give tips, tricks, etc. We're gonna talk about. We already talked about arcade sticks, but I'm just gonna go into a little bit further detail in explaining some of those things and how all that stuff works. So yeah, in the nutshell, that's what's going to happen. And then lastly, the other thing I want to hit on is what we're going to be doing for this year. And we're always I'm constantly going to go back to this and remind people this is what's going on. But boom, we have the Street Fighter 5 Soul League coming every Wednesday starting on January the 19th. I'm really, really excited about that. It looks like we're going to be having 17 competitors, but it really depends. It really depends on the amount of participation that I'm getting. So if we get the right amount of participation, this is going to be great. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good time. But if it's not all there, we're still going to have a good time. It's just we're not going to do a lot of this stuff as aggressively. Again, it's just Wednesday, starting at 7 CST, first to 2. Well, I guess that's best 2 out of 3. And then we're gonna rotate. We're not gonna do a full-on tournament. We're gonna have a record, and then at the end of everything, we'll have like a super large finals or tournament like that. And then periodically throughout the season, we'll open up the tournament like a specialty tournament, like hey, girls only. Not your physical, but like girl characters only, grapplers only, Shoto only, charge characters only. We're gonna do something like that, and I think that's gonna be extremely fun, and I can't wait for that. I think it's gonna be. I think it's a good idea. I don't care what you think. I think it's a good idea, and if you don't like it, you'll like not liking it. Okay, but that's what we're doing during this year, and I'm super duper excited about that. So with that, let's see what else do I need to hit on? It's the first Monday of the year. I wasn't expecting too much of anything to happen or go on during this first Monday. It is what it is, and it is what it is. There's not a lot of going on, but we will get back to the news, the after work flow news or the coffee hour news. We're going to continue with guests for the coffee hour. Like this month, we have Hammer. We got Ham or Hammer. We have Ill Cat. We have, who else do we have this month? We have Acid Train, if I'm not mistaken. I got to go back and look at my calendar and see who's who and what's what. But again, there's a lot of good stuff happening during this month. And again, I'm super duper excited about it. We're going to get back to what we do best, which is staying consistent, providing gaming news, and we're playing fighting games. But this year specifically, we're going to focus on Street Fighter 5.
Success and victory. Here comes a new challenger.
First, one of my most favorite games of all time is Tekken 3. Played that with a controller. It is what it is. Rival Schools, played it with a controller. Marvel vs. Capcom, X-Men Adventure, played all these games with a controller, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But it wasn't until, I'm going to say 2007, no, it's 2016. That's when I first got my first arcade stick. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with it. It was playing Street Fighter, and I was just trying to figure it out. And then I would play it, and then I would go back to the controller because I didn't have the muscle memory or the dexterity, whichever word you want to use. I didn't have the muscle memory to play with the arcade stick at that time. And then finally, I dedicated myself to the arcade stick. In 2019, I said, you know what, I'm just going to get it, and I haven't turned back. So now people ask me, hey, CJ, what would you recommend? What would you do? How would you do it? What are some things you would do to get better with the arcade stick? What do you think about the Hitbox? What do you think about this? You think about that? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit here and kind of tell you about each one of these things that I've used. It might not be necessarily the one that the particular brand or the exact one that I use, but you'll generally get the gist of what I'm talking about. Of course, I've always played Street Fighter. Street Fighter was the very first game that I saw that was a fighting game. And there was this kid, his name was Myron. He beat the snot out of me in Street Fighter every single time, man. And I just wasn't motivated to play. And then, he wouldn't show me how to do the moves, the special moves, or anything like that. He would just be like, yeah, he laughing, like, ha ha, you suck, you know. But then I came across my friend. They were twins. Their name was Vez and Tony, and they showed me Mortal Kombat. Now, that was the first time I saw Mortal Kombat, and they showed me how to do Sub-Zero's freeze, and it's very similar to a fireball motion. However, I was really hooked. I was in the movie theater, Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'm watching Mortal Kombat. I'm watching someone play the first Mortal Kombat, and Johnny Cage, poof, off with the freaking head. I was freaking hooked. I've been a fighting game guy for that long. That was what, second or third grade? Yeah, I've been a fighting game guy for that long. So so before we just completely jump into it, and then afterwards we're gonna jump onto Street Fighter. Excuse me. Had hot dogs. I'm burping hot dogs. What the heck? The very first thing I'll say when it comes to, should I get controller, arcade stick, hitbox, whatever? Do what's comfortable. Do what's comfortable. A lot of people struggle with that because they see the pros play. They might see their favorite streamer play. There's a lot of different things or different reasons why a person may want to experiment with the arcade stick or a hitbox or stick with controller for that matter. But I will always argue and say do what you think is best for you. And if playing with the arcade stick isn't best for you, don't use it. Controller isn't best for you, don't use it. There's always going to be a learning curve with whatever device you want to use to play fighting games. But where do we start? Let's start with this one first. I don't mind starting with this one first. Let's talk about controllers. Let's start with controllers. Boom, here it is. Regular old Xbox 360. No, this is not an Xbox 360 controller. No, it is. No, it's not. This is an Xbox One controller. It's a great controller, and I am definitely a fan of the controller. I use it for other games. I play Call of Duty. I hook it up to my PC, and I play a lot of other games with this controller here. However, when it comes to fighting games, I'm not able to do that. And here's my reason why. It's not the reason. There hasn't been a study or anything like that. The reason why I don't use a controller because of the precision, the amount of precision that's there. Like you can do things a whole lot quicker with your thumb, doop 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 doop. But sometimes there's more room for error, in my opinion, with the controller, with the because people get in these modes and start doing one of these things, like and you do quarter circle twice instead of just doing it one time because you get excited or anxious, or you push your thumb's too big and you're pushing the wrong button. And for that matter, the access to the buttons, most fighting games have 4 or more buttons to it, specifically Street Fighter, and maybe you have to remap, or a couple buttons are all the way on this side, and it's harder to get that coordination to get all that stuff, those inputs together. But again, this is all up to your personal preference, not saying that there's a right way or wrong. It's all personal preference. But lastly, with controllers here, I'm willing to argue and have that discussion. Personally, nowadays the controllers are starting to look a lot alike. The PlayStation 5 controller doesn't look that much different than the PlayStation. No, excuse me. I'm starting fumbling on my words. The Xbox One controller doesn't look too much off from the Xbox Series X controller. Besides a little spacing right here, it has more of a round shape. You can hit all the diagonals that you want to. And then same thing with the PlayStation controller. It's not that far off from. Hey. Oh. Same thing with the PlayStation controller. It's not that far off from the Xbox. They're all starting to look the same, including the Nintendo Switch controllers. Matter of fact, I got one right here, the Nintendo Switch controller. And really, the only way you know it's by Nintendo is that you see a little Pikachu. But these controllers aren't that far off from being just like it. And this is considered a Nintendo Switch Pro controller. The next one we'll talk about is the Hitbox. Now, I'm not that big of a fan of the Hitbox. This is my talking piece. This is something that I'm going to put a design on it and put it on my coffee table. That's about it. It's not that saying that this is a bad device. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this particular device, it's not for me. This particular controller, it's just not for me. But again, it has its pros and cons that come along with it. For example, when you're playing a game like Street Fighter, you can hold back and push forward for charge characters, and you don't have to worry about constantly holding the controller back and trying to figure out how you're going to charge into the next move. You just hold this button right here and press this one. You kind of buffer it, and we'll talk about buffering a little bit later on throughout the videos that we have. But you hold this down right here and boop 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 boop. a little bit easier to do. And then it helps. I would almost argue that it helps you a lot when it comes to learning how to play games without fighting games specifically without jumping, because the jump button, jeez, what's wrong with me? The jump button, it's way down here and it doesn't get in the way. But and then it's very comfortable. Like, let's see here. Let me see if I can get a top-down view for you guys. So the Hitbox isn't necessarily a bad option. It's just a little bit different. It's for people that might not like their hands cramping up, or they have big hands. It's just something different. So let's look at this real quick, and so that you can see kind of where your hand rests. So as you see, this is mine. My table's a little bit messy right now, but you kind of see here, it's like typing on a computer. Can you get carpal tunnel? Yeah, absolutely. You can get carpal tunnel for anything, but it's a whole lot easier to reach all the buttons that you need to reach. And your hands are well spread. The buttons are small. They're 24 millimeter buttons. And then you have the 30 millimeter button right here as your jump button. And then you have all the buttons on the side that are important here. Yeah, you need all those buttons there also. But yeah, it's not a wrong answer. It's just something different. What is this on? What is that black thing on there? Oh, this is a sticker. I was like, what is that? I don't even use this thing. Why is there something on it? Yeah, it's just a sticker. But yes, it's not the way, it's a way, okay? So we all don't get upset and mad at each other. Well, you should only use this one. You should only use that one. It's not the way, it's a way. So the next one that I'm going to be talking about is the arcade stick. That's what I personally use, and that's what I've been enjoying the most. And for me, it's about the way, the type of precision that comes along with the fight stick. And I like the way it feels. It brings me back to my childhood. Granted, I played on controller most of my life, but going to the arcades and the bowling alleys of Mannheim, Germany, as a kid, guess what? I had to play on the arcade machine, and that arcade machine was like an arcade stick. So I was playing Tekken 3, Ultimate Mortal Kombat, etc., on a pretty much a stick, and this is mine. This is not my primary one. I like this one for decoration. It's kind of like a little gamer flex or whatever. But this is my Quamba Pearl that I customized, and this is what I use. And again, for me, it's about precision. I'm focused and I'm more conscious of what I'm doing versus going out there and mindlessly playing. I have to sit there and make sure that I'm in neutral. I have to purposely make sure that I'm not jumping. I purposely have to make sure I'm getting all the button inputs put into the joystick and the buttons, and that's why I like it so much. And then it's a little bit easier to hit some of these buttons, and at the same time, I mean, it's the same thing with the Hitbox, but there's a level of, again, only my opinion. I'm not saying it's the right answer. It's just an opinion. I think the Hitbox is cheating a little bit, but we'll have a discussion about that a little bit later. But again, that's just me. And then I also with these types of arcade sticks, I love the ball top. I love these ball tops and bat tops. I just freaking love them. But again, this is what I'm using, and this is what I'm using this year for playing Street Fighter 5, and we'll take a deep dive into that all during this year. But if you really liked this video, or if this video helped, or if it didn't help, I don't care. Hey, make sure you give this video a like, and make sure you subscribe, and make sure you comment down below on what controller you're using. Are you using the arcade stick? Are you using the Hitbox? Or are you using a controller? Hey, you made it this far. Make sure you subscribe, and make sure you like this video right here. Also, follow me on my social media platforms that I have there: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, even Twitch, MD Soul, everything. Thanks. Have a good one, y'all.